So we've made it all the way till May. We're getting close to about half of the year. There's a lot of different things that we've gone over trying to build yourself up throughout this year. Believe me, if you are incorporating these things that we are teaching every month and you implement them throughout the month, that's why I'm giving you a month to implement something new, a new tool. This will help build you, and then you realize that by the end of the year, you will become a different person, a more positive person, a more active person that is allowing yourself to make the changes that you want in your life. And to do this, again, you have to slowly integrate these changes into your life. Now, the past 2 months, I know in March, I talked about being curious, and then I went into some gratitude in April. Now, I want to go back to March. When I asked you to be curious about things, to follow up, research, and study those things that you were curious about, this month, I want you to actually take action on those things that you were curious about. I want you to start implementing what you have learned, and this is where ultimately where you're going to start making the biggest changes in your life. Yes, a lot of these things dealt with mindset, believing that you can do it, and start building yourself out, following those things that are curious, and being grateful for those things, good or bad, that come into your life. And then now it is time to start taking action on those things that you are curious about, whatever it is. And if you've let the curiosity fall off, I suggest you pick it back up and start incorporating some kind of daily task into each and every day that will allow you to execute on the thing that you were curious about. And you realize that when you start executing, you start running across other things that you become more curious about, and so you do more research and start executing on those particular things. But an example would be, if you were curious about the plant-based diet, maybe start incorporating a couple small things that are plant-based into your daily diet. Maybe it was something about finances. Maybe you want to start a side gig and find, maybe you flip stuff, go to garage sales and you flip stuff on eBay, right? Maybe you need to start looking at different garage sales for the weekend, start taking the action, going out and purchasing these things, open up an eBay account and start listing these things. Or maybe you just want to, figure out about different investments. Maybe you want to look into stock market, or maybe you want to look into real estate, or maybe you want to look into crypto. Ultimately, what you want to do is to start taking the action, make a deposit, and start looking at stocks and buy your first stock, right? Do something like that. This is the action I'm talking about. Making these small little changes, you realize that this will help motivate you. This is what I talk about, pockets of motivation, following that curiosity and taking the action, because if you don't actually take the action, you won't know how it feels. But when you're taking the action, you get excited, and then you find your pockets of motivation, and you continue on with that curiosity in the research, and realize that the action and the research together, you start finding your flow. And this is something that I talk about when you lose sense of time and self, because now you're taking the action on those things that you were curious about, and this helps build up your confidence, because you are taking action, and you realize that you don't have to focus on confidence. You have to focus on building curiosity and finding those things that really drive you, and again, hitting those pockets of motivation, and you essentially drive yourself as opposed to watching videos and doing all these other different things. You actually start taking the action, and you start creating the life that you want through your actions. So again, follow up with your curiosity and start taking action on those things that you are curious about, and you realize that soon enough, we are almost halfway through the year, and then before you know it, by the end of the year, you won't even recognize the person you are, as long as you are following up and doing these monthly applying these monthly tools every month, learning something new, and continuing from the past months, and continuing to bring all that stuff in, because we want to carry all these different tools into the next month and keep it rolling and start this butterfly effect. And then you realize that your whole life will be changed in a year. You can do a lot in a year, more than you think you can do, as long as you are consistent, as long as you are doing daily things that help add up with all these different tools to build yourself out. And now, the biggest one is to take action. So go ignite that change.